Welcome to Transitions. I'm Antoinette Zloty, your host. Today we will be talking about alcohol consumption. I have a number of interesting people who will be joining me, and they will share their personal story or show us some very good ways to entertain without alcohol, as well some information about the Addictions Foundation of Manitoba. So first off, I have with me Julie Martens. And Julie, can you share with me and our viewers your experience and the loss that you had suffered some time ago?
In 2012, my stepfather was killed by a drunk driver, and it was a nightmare, obviously. It destroyed not just our life, but the people he also had in his vehicle, his own life, his family got affected. It happened at early morning hours, and I got a call from work, and of course it devastated our family. My kids were absolutely devastated. It took a very long time to be able to function again after that. You never get over it. You just learn to deal with the new norm.
So was this the very first time that you had experienced such a traumatic loss in your family?
In regards to alcohol, yes.
Okay.
We have lost people, from other things, but alcohol is incredibly preventable. It's tragic. It's a crime that can be 100% prevented.
Sometimes people have contact with the family of the people who were in the other vehicle. Was this the case for you, or did you know the other people, or?
I did not. My stepdad was the sole occupant of his vehicle. Mm-hmm. He was going to work, getting ready to go to work. He worked at a local store, and he worked the night shift. He was a supervisor, and just innocently driving to work, not even 5 minutes from home. He was on the highway. He barely turned onto the highway when a car had collided head-on. That vehicle had 3 passengers. There was a driver and 2 passengers. His 2 passengers died. My stepdad died on impact. And I learned later on that one of the girls from the other vehicle that had passed away was actually my mom's neighbor 2 houses over, that it was their daughter. So that community took, it took 2 hits on grief that day, and became intertwined with that family ever since.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it is very important for healing, isn't it, to be able to make that connection? Or did you find that having that connection to the other family helped in some way?
It did, in some ways, kind of. Mm-hmm. I didn't really get to know the family until we started going through the court system, which was when I became in contact with MAD, Mothers Against Drinking and Driving. And I met a lot of support from there. The family that were also impacted, such as the driver that killed these 3 people. It's a healing. I think you need it for closure. But the MAD family has been a huge part of my life ever since. And without them, I would never be able to keep going forward.
Do you also have other members of your family receiving or having receive services through MAD?
No, not really. Myself, my husband, and my daughter are really the only ones that continuously seek support from MAD. We are now, it took us a while, we are now volunteers with MAD, but we do go to the support groups every second Tuesday of the month.
I see. And is there any cost for being involved with MAD or?
None.
No cost.
None.
So it's funded through?
It's all volunteer based, it's all fundraised.
Fundraise. Oh, I see. Oh, okay, that's good. That's good. Well, I think that organizations like MAD are very important, and I'm really happy to hear that you were able to find some support through that organization.
It was comforting, and they helped us through the court system, which was really important because I didn't understand any of it.
Yeah. So I really would like to talk with you further about that, and because that is certainly an area that a lot of people have, you know, some issues and so on, you know, within the legal system, whether it's be this situation or others. But I really must thank you for coming in and speaking with us, and our viewers, I'm sure, if they need the services of MAD, they may not hesitate now to actually call.
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming
Thank you
in.
for having me.
Welcome back to Transitions. Kathy, I'm so happy that you were able to make it to the show today because you've got a lot of really nice treats here for me and to try, and I'd like to for you to tell me what you have.
Well, today I brought some products from MAD, and they are non-alcoholic beverages. So we'll start with the wine, Antoinette, and we'll sample that. These are our red wine. It's made from a Merlot grape, and it's non-alcoholic.
I see too that it's 27 calories for 150 mils.
Yes. So for people who are watching their weight, it's an amazing product. And as we entertain, I feel that it's our professional responsibility to provide non-alcoholic beverages to our guests when they arrive. I can see a lot of these products being available to all kinds of events. So we started with the red, but we also have a white wine, which I think you should sample that as well. And so you could give that a try.
Right.
So that's our white wine.
Okay, and so this is, it smells good.
I know throughout the evening when I've
Yes,
entertained,
very nice.
I've
I like
switched out
this.
of alcoholic beverages and put out my non-alcoholic beverages as the evening progresses.
Oh, that's a good way to do it too. I
And
like
this is
that.
also 29 calories.
Oh, for
it's-
150 mils?
Yeah.
And is there any, what else is in there?
It's a Chardonnay grape,
Oh, nice.
so it's quite lovely.
And not very high in sugar either.
No, very low in sugar.
And fat, no fat.
No fat, I know. So this is a lovely mojito. This is the mojito. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
pre-mixed some of it for us so that we could try this as well.
That looks like ice though.
Yeah. Well, what I do is I put it in a blender and I make
Oh,
it
you-
into a mojito.
Oh, so did
And,
you add
So
some?
I've opened the can.
Oh, I see.
Okay, this is a little bit higher in calorie. It's
Okay,
140.
this is the empty one here.
Yeah.
140 for the whole can. And then you've added it to ice, so
Ice.
you should be able to get more. So did you get this whole thing here?
That is one can.
This is one can. So
Yeah.
this could go quite a ways, and you can get your water of the day too through the ice.
And it's very lovely.
Oh yes,
It's a delicious product. So now we have our sparkling, which is, again, alcohol-free.
Yeah.
It is made from, it's a pure grape juice. So we'll try that. And what I do when I entertain, especially for
thank
New
you.
Year's,
Thank you.
as the evening wears on, people are obviously having beverages, But as the midnight rolls around, I don't want to serve a beverage that's going to make people have a drink and then get in their vehicle and drive. So this is the alternative that I provide my guests.
Nice.
So I could also see this at a baby shower. I could see it at graduation ceremonies.
It's really good.
Yeah. So with a
Oh,
little bit
it's
of orange
very
juice, you
good.
could have a lovely drink there.
Oh, yes, it's very nice.
So our next sample will be the margarita. And this too, a little bit higher in calories.
Oh, how much higher?
A little bit. It's about 120 or 150.
Oh, that's not bad. That's pretty good. And then you can add this to ice as well.
Yes. This one you could, like I've done with the mojito, I've added ice, but with the margarita, I like it just on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very good. And what I like is that everybody is sort of using the same very lovely stemware, and you don't have to actually say to anybody, well, I'm just having pop tonight because I'm dieting, or
Right, or
what
I'm the
have
DD.
you, or I'm the DD. Yeah, like it's a little bit more private, because when you go to the bar and you help yourself, you can help yourself to any of these and then still enjoy the evening.
That's right. Again, as a hostess, it is my professional responsibility to provide this option for my guests. And I don't want them to look singled out by not holding a beautiful beverage and holding a beautiful glass and have to explain to people, I'm the DD, or I'm not drinking because I'm expecting, or I'm nursing, or whatever their choice is to not have a beverage, an alcoholic beverage.
The other thing too is that I think that for grads, they could consider for the grad celebration, maybe having some alternatives like this, so that you can mix it up a little bit, so that the kids who don't want to drink don't have to feel any kind of pressure and what have you, because it's their business what it is that they're having to drink when they go to the bar. Serve it in a nice glass, and it's really up to them to try and be responsible. So I could see definitely. So what are you doing in terms of advertising this? Because I was pretty ignorant about it,
And
to tell you the truth.
I think people are. I think now we are looking at alternatives to alcohol, because we see the impaired driving and the destruction it does to our communities.
Jeez.
So we do have to look at the fact that we socially have to do this. And so how do we promote it? Mad Canada does promote it. And with Mad Canada promoting it, we as Mad Winnipeg chapter, we actually receive some of the funds from the purchases. So it actually comes back to our local chapter, so that we can actually earn some money through that.
That's excellent. And so can I just grab another one of your strawberries? I have one here. And I really appreciate you coming in. So
Thank you for having
cheers.
me. Thank you.
welcome to the show, Sheri. I'm very happy to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me.
So something that always comes up in conversation with people that I know is around what does it mean when somebody is addicted. You're with the Addictions Foundation of Manitoba. So can you tell me a little bit about what that means? Like what kind of signs there might be that somebody is addicted to alcohol?
Well, there's a continuum of people's experience with alcohol. So many people are on the lower end of the continuum, where they're able to have, a casual relationship where there aren't really any harms that they experience. And at the other end of the spectrum is somebody who is actually addicted or alcoholic. So those are the people who really aren't drinking for enjoyment anymore. They're drinking because they feel compelled. They have to, even to just feel normal. Without drinking, their body and their physical condition and their mental condition just don't function properly. They might become secretive. They might stop doing things they used to enjoy. But really it's about that need, the inability to control themselves.
I see. And the role that, well, we always refer to the Addictions Foundation as AFM, so maybe I'll just refer to it as that. So what role does AFM play, and can you tell us a little bit as well about the services? Are they mostly residential or less so?
We provide a range of services across, again, the spectrum for, we have prevention and education for people just to raise awareness of what is lower risk kinds of drinking or drug use or gambling. We have early intervention programs that help people who are maybe on that path towards addiction, might be able to step back from that. And then we have a variety of treatment services. And it's interesting that popular culture would tell us that if you get help from an addiction agency, that you have to go to rehab, you go to treatment, you're away from your life for weeks. And the reality is that the vast, vast majority of our clients are with us in a community basis. They're not coming to live with us. 80 or 90% of our clients are accessing community-based programming. So they can maintain their normal lives as much as possible. They don't have to interrupt their work. They don't have to interrupt their family life as much as attending a residential program would.
So I think that given that we're looking at some alternatives, or at least before you came on, we were looking at some alternatives to alcohol. Do you think that there's some hope for the future? Because it is still one of the highest causes of fatalities, is it not?
Absolutely, and certainly, as previous guests have mentioned, it's one of the greatest causes of preventable death and injury. We have attention drawn to other drugs and other activities from time to time, but the reality is that alcohol always has been and probably always will be our most destructive drug. And we still have a ways to go as a society to really understand how to treat alcohol with respect. I'm not saying not drink, but really understand what are some of the risks, and how can you minimize any risks that you might be aware of.
So your funding for the AFM comes through
the provincial government. We're a Crown agency, so we're entirely funded by the provincial government. There are a number of other addiction agencies that are also funded, at least partially, by the provincial government as well. So we're not the only game in town. We do provide, we're the largest agency, so we do provide a large proportion of the services, but we do work collaboratively with our partner agencies as well.
So what would be the youngest client that you would see within AFM? And the oldest probably goes quite into their 80s or 90s, but what about youngest?
We have youth services where youth as young as 12 and up to age 18 can access our youth services. We have community-based programming and counseling. We have school-based programming. There is a residential program for youth who require that more intensive and more structured service. So, roughly 12 to 18. After age 18, everyone is welcome to access our adult services. I might add as well that we have family programming as well. For every one person who is affected by their own personal addiction, there are probably 8 or 10 others around them who are affected by them as well. And we know that families go through a great deal of turmoil while somebody is experiencing their addiction. So I'd like people to know that there is a place for people to access supports and counseling for somebody if you are affected by another person's use.
Parents then should be watchful and careful about where they store alcohol, right? Because you just mentioned that your youngest client might be about 12. So that means that kids are getting access to alcohol at a very young age.
And other drugs.
And other drugs. I know we have a lot of problems with that, and hopefully we'll see some decreases over time, especially with people getting behind other people to be more responsible.
Absolutely.
And then, you know, maybe we'll see a you know, decrease in incidents, but all we can do is hope for the best, right?
I guess so. And, you know, have frank discussions. Don't be afraid to talk about drugs and alcohol and gambling with young people. Even as much as a teenager may not seem like they're really paying attention to you, they are.
Yeah.
And parents and guardians are the best source of information about drugs and alcohol. And again, we have resources. We have a library and a knowledge exchange center at the Addictions Foundation in Manitoba. We have resources for the public. We have information resources, we have DVDs, we have books, almost
and you
anything.
go to talk to groups too, eh? You go into the school system.
We
and
have
do some-
counselors in the school system. We have other prevention educators who will go into the school system.
Good.
We have parents programs if they're concerned. So we do really try to cover the spectrum of all Manitobans to try to promote just resiliency amongst our population.
Well, thank you, and best of luck with all of the work that AFM does,
Thank
and Matt as well. And we'll be right back because we'll like to all get together and chat just briefly before the end of the show. Welcome back to Transitions. Now we're all together, and it's been a pleasure having all of you on the show. We have our nice drinks here, but earlier on I had a question for you I didn't get a chance to ask. Can you tell me about your button that you're wearing?
This button, this is my stepdad. I got this button when I got involved with MAD. They sent me to a convention in Toronto. It is a support. They have a memorial there for everybody who has lost someone to drinking and driving. And when you get there, you are welcomed with a package that is specifically for you, and this pin was made by them specifically for me. So it was very nice to go in there and see that pin, pull this pin out of the bag.
That's lovely. That's really great.
That's wonderful. Something I had meant to share, and I'm glad that I have the opportunity to share now, is that there is a relatively new resource in Manitoba for people who are curious about their own use of alcohol, drugs, or possibly gambling, or about somebody they care for. And it's called the Manitoba Addiction Helpline. It's got a toll-free number and also a website. If you call their toll-free number during regular business hours, you'll be talking not just to a receptionist or to a switchboard operator, you'll be talking to a counselor, somebody who is experienced and who will help you guide you through the process of finding the right service for yourself. And that's not just for the Addictions Foundation of Manitoba, it's for all of the provincially funded services across Manitoba. So it's really exciting, and we can provide the information for your viewers for them to access that.
That's great. We can also have that on our website.
Great.
Yes. And what about yourself?
Well, I'm grateful that you had me to bring awareness to having the non-alcoholic beverages available as hostesses. And, you know, it's always nice to have a glass of wine or a glass of champagne or a mojito in a glass. It doesn't single out a person to say that, well, you're the DD or you're not drinking tonight. And it's just nice to hold a glass and look like everybody else at the event.
So this is something that other people can do. Like they can go and have access to these very lovely products, and you know, with all these holiday seasons coming up, and also summer, even having another couple over, you might decide to do something like this. But instead of such a long name like we say non-alcoholic beverages, we were just chatting before we came back on.
Something a little punchier.
Punchy, like what was that?
Faux alcohol.
Faux alcohol. Yeah, I think that's great because hey, we wear faux leather. There's faux this and faux that, and it's very quick, you know, to get the point across that it looks a lot like alcohol tastes actually a lot like the real thing, and because I just love the taste of all the drinks that you've shared here today. So full alcohol is a great way to label this, because a lot of it is in labeling, isn't it? You know, and but do you think that possibly when kids are in grade 12 and they're looking at having their grad, that maybe MAD might consider going and giving a presentation to, because I remember when my kids were going to be graduating from high school, and I sat on the grad committee, and does MAD do anything like that? Go and connect with those kids in high school?
They do go to the schools. They do presentations in a lot of
Yeah.
the schools.
And do they take some samples along to let the kids know also about alternative drinks that they
I
could
don't know if
maybe
they've ever
have
done
at the
this.
bars, you know, when, you know, they're having their celebrations?
I don't know if that's
Yeah.
offered yet, but it's something that, you know, we
Look
could
into.
definitely consider
That would be great.
to
think
help
it's-
shift it.
It's great to encourage young people to understand that not everybody their age drinks. And in fact, 20, 30, even 40% of
Yeah.
people in school age don't drink at all. So it normalizes a very normal behavior.
Exactly.
Nice.
I think that it's a normal behavior, but we also have to look at some other consequences to drinking too, because we know about medical problems, psychosocial problems, marital problems that can come about. So responsible drinking, that's what we really, really need out there. So thank you, ladies. We'll have to get together again.
Thank you, Antoinette.
So I'd like to propose a toast to responsible drinking.
Thank you. Cheers.
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 Cheers.